Good day, and welcome to Del Val Now. At the backdrop of the Washington Monument on a sunny day in August 2011, surrounded by Presidents Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington, now stands a king, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The memorial for Reverend Dr. King is meant to stand to commemorate the life and work of this giant civil rights leader. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the first intercollegiate fraternity for African American men, and also in which Dr. King was a member, spearheaded the effort to build this monument. And to help celebrate in this private dedication of the monument were men and women of every generation. His son, Martin Luther King III, was there. His daughter Bernice gave a stirring speech and shared in the moment with former New Orleans Mayor and CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial. Dr. King's good friend and former ambassador to the UN, Andrew Young, shared in this dedication with former U.S. Representative Connie Morella. Dr. Joe Lowry, a civil rights icon, shared in this day also with other civil rights icons like Jesse Jackson and Reverend Al Sharpton. The chairperson of the MLK Foundation, Harry Johnson, also spoke at this private event, and the general president of the fraternity, Skip Mason, with Wyatt T. Walker, were a part of the day. Yes, women and men from everywhere shared in the Alpha Phi Alpha dedication of the monument. The work to build the monument started 28 years prior to the erection of the monument. It began with a conversation between a few Alpha brothers. In fact, Margaret Mead said it best: "Never doubt what a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change in the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Since its founding on December 4, 1906, by 7 undergraduate students at Cornell University, known as the Seven Jewels, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity has dedicated itself to manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. According to Wikipedia, the fraternity has over 185,000 members and has been open to men of all races since 1940. Currently, there are more than 730 active chapters in the Americas, Africa, Europe, the Caribbean, and Asia. Today's show will highlight the private dedication by Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity of the Martin Luther King Jr. Monument.
And welcome to Del Val Now. I'm your host, Al Hunter Jr., and with me are Richard Austin and Maurice Houston.
Thank you.
And brothers, I'd like to ask you, what was it like being down in D.C. for the unveiling?
Well, it was an exciting opportunity to actually see it. Me coming into the fraternity, only being a pro-fight, which means 2 years within the organization, to see the level of brotherhood and the camaraderie that was in the place was just totally exciting and electrifying. I just was overwhelmed, just to tell you the truth. I was overwhelmed with the level of just what had been accomplished by my fraternity and what had taken place on that evening.
All right, Maurice, what about you? Did you have those same type of feelings?
I did. It was a fantastic opportunity for the fraternity, for the country, and for the civil rights movement. Just being there at that time, it was fantastic. If I could sum it up in one word, I would say fantastic.
Yeah. Now, both of you, of course, are members of Alpha Phi Alpha.
Absolutely.
And so where did you pledge at?
I pledged at Temple University in the city of Philadelphia in spring 1987.
And you?
And I pledged here, right here in Philadelphia, as the alumni chapter, Zeta Omicron Lambda, just in 2010.
And for some of our viewers, can you kind of explain what it means to pledge a fraternity?
Sure. When we say pledging a fraternity, that's the process where you actually become a member. It's part of the initiation of the organization, being indoctrinated with the tenets of the organization, what Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity is about, learning the history of the organization and learning manly deeds scholarship. Those are two of the aims and goals of the organization, just really finding out about the organization, its history, its projects for the future, and just really understanding what fraternal life is all about.
So those were some of the things that enticed you to join this particular fraternity?
Go ahead, Maurice.
I was going to say not only just the history of the organization, but also the brotherhood. The fraternity, it's a group of men from various backgrounds, but we come together under one umbrella, the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated umbrella. Absolutely. So it really links men from across the country and throughout the world under the auspices of Alpha Phi Alpha.
And Richard?
And I agree with him totally. Coming into the organization, just being in it for 2 years, I had always wanted to do it in college, but unfortunately didn't have the opportunity from the standpoint of time, and it just seemed right from the perspective of being able to get together with brothers like-minded who were looking to do and drive some of similar goals and some of the same aspirations, in essence, of touching our youth, helping them to move from high school to college, and then hopefully into a career for themselves. So it was an exciting opportunity for me to connect at this particular time.
Right. Now, it's pretty obvious you guys have a relationship, or made a connection with the fraternity. But I was wondering, what is Alpha Phi Alpha's connection with Martin Luther King?
Well, that's an obvious connection, I would think, with everyone who's watching. He is one of our brothers. He is a brother that pledged, as well as the rest of us who have done that from a perspective, and he came under the same auspice that we did from the standpoint of what Brother Maurice just spoke about as far as going through the rituals and the rites of becoming a brother of Alpha Phi Alpha.
Mm-hmm. And he really exemplifies a lot of the part of the mission that the fraternity talks about a lot too in his life and what he tried to do with his life. I was wondering, when you think about people like King and others who have joined your fraternity, you get what feelings do you get? Do you get a sense of pride about that, or is it a sense of motivation to make you want to do things in a like vein?
I think it's both of those adjectives that you just described. I mean, there is a sense of pride in the history of Alpha Phi Alpha, but then it also is about the camaraderie of individuals from different backgrounds coming together, moving one agenda, in essence, to edify and lift up a people. And like I said, coming to that particular event, the unveiling of his monument, it just brought it all back home to me again, why I chose this particular fraternity, because there are several others, but I just felt driven by Alpha Phi Alpha because it was the first, and again, for what it stands for.
And just to piggyback off of what Richard said, it's not only pride, but it's also a sense of purpose. The purpose to say that this is something that I can achieve. If you set goals, you can achieve goals with the assistance of other people who are like-minded, the Brotherhood, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, as well as other individuals working for a collective goal. So just being a part of that particular weekend in Washington, D.C. was just fantastic because you saw a lot of that come together.
Right. And so let's take a look at a clip from a member of your fraternity who was out there with you as well, talking about his being at the dedication. And but let's take a listen, and we can talk about it after we see it.
Right.
My name is Robert Bedford, and I'm here representing Mu Mu Lambda chapter in Chicago, Illinois. I am so excited about this opportunity whereby we are here to dedicate a monument to a man and his memory, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. This is more than a historic event. Some of us happen to remember at the tender age of 8 years of age when Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. had died, and we were in the living room at my mother's house, and she was sharing with us what type of man this person was. Today